Bonjour tout le monde. Today we're going to be looking at something we call the subjunctive. The subjunctive, le subjonctif en français. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est un temps qui n'est pas l'indicatif. It's a tense that isn't in the indicative, or maybe it's really more of a voice than it is a tense. What do I mean by that? Well, look at the title that I've put here. What might we be learning? The word might doesn't really exist in French. It's an indication that you're speaking in the subjunctive. You might be able to do something, you might not be able to do something. We're not really sure. The subjunctive is something we use in that realm. What might we be doing? What might we end up not doing? So when do I use the subjunctive voice? Well, I'm going to say what might or might not happen. I'm going to clarify my own uncertainty about things. I'm going to use it when I have phrases of doubt or emotion, desire. Sometimes I'm going to use it when I'm expressing my opinion about superlatives in particular. If I think someone is the best dancer that I know, then it's my opinion. It doesn't mean that that person is the best dancer. It just means that I think that. We're going to use the subjunctive when we say that. To make general statements about what I think should be true. I think that all people have the right to freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I do believe that, but certainly there are people in the world who don't believe that. So if I say that I believe that, I think this should be true, it doesn't mean that it is true everywhere. So there are shades of meaning within this that have to do with what may be true, what might be true, what could happen, what might not happen. And we're going to learn to identify when we use those, when we use this voice and when we use words in English that might be more like might or may. Now, how are you going to remember that? Well, of course, the first thing you need to learn is how do you form this. It's like any other tense. There's a formula you're going to follow in order to form it. It's not difficult, not in the present and not in the past. And those are the two subjunctives we have in French. And I'm going to give you an acronym that is weddings that's going to help you be reminded of when to use the subjunctive in French. That's going to come in future videos. So for the purpose of today, we're really just going to learn what it is and we're going to learn how to form it. So get ready to take some notes on how to form the subjunctive. First thing we're going to do in order to form the subjunctives, we're going to remember our present tenses of verbs. We are going to take the third person plural form of our verb, and we are going to drop off the ENT. That is true for everything except for the nu and the vous form. The nu and the vous form, although it is also based on the third person plural form, here we're just going to take their imparfait forms and drop off the IONS, or the IEZ of the imparfait ending. So we are left with a stem. Then onto that stem we're going to add the appropriate subjunctive ending. So what are they? Be sure to write in your notes that all the subjunctive endings, no matter what kind of verb that we're using, are E, ES, E, IONS, IEZ, and ENT. These look remarkably like your ER verb present tense endings, except for the IONS and IEZ, which more look like your imparfait endings. Make sure that you memorize that those are the endings you're going to use in the subjunctive. So let's look at some verbs. If I have the verb parler, here we have parler. We have dropped off the E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT of the present tense, and we have added the E, ES, E, IONS, IEZ, and ENT in the subjunctive voice. Doesn't look or sound remarkably different for parler, but look at finir. It looks a bit different. All right. To have formed this, look, we have these S's in there because in the present tense we had added ISIS, IT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, ISSENT. So now we are going to just drop the ENT from that third person plural ending, which leaves the ISS attached still. That root, we add the E, ES, E, IONS, IEZ, ENT. So we end up with Je finis, tu finis, il, elle en finissent, Nous finissions, vous finissiez, il, elle finissent. Now look at attendre. Again, attendre looks a little different because we added ss nothing. Remember that? Now we're adding eese. So we have some consonants to say. J'attende, tu attendes, il, elle, on attendent, nous attendions, vous attendiez, il, elle attendent. They look a little bit different, of course, except for the third person plural. Now, irregular verbs keep their spelling changes when we make the subjunctive. So, acheter, you can see, becomes achète, and does not have the grave in the nous and the vous form, just like it doesn't in the present tense. So, all the spelling tenses you learn are preserved. Look at croire. You have dropped off the ENT, and so when you say je crois, instead of having an S on the end here, you have an E. You've dropped off the ENT from the third person plural form and added just an E, an ES, an E, IONS, IEZ. You see the Y's there? That was that spelling change. And then ENT. Prendre, same thing. So it becomes prenne instead of prend. Reçoivent instead of reçoit. Now here are some irregular verbs. You must also write every single one of these verbs down in your notes so that you will remember them. So be careful that you have the irregular verbs. Aller is aille. Avoir is aille. Être is soit. Faire is fasse. Pouvoir is puisse. Savoir is sache. Vouloir is veuille. Pleuvoir, only the third person, of course, it's the verb to rain. Il pleuve. Falloir, again, only the third person. This was our verb il faut, becomes il faille. And valoir, to be worth, is il vaille. So falloir and valoir look a lot alike and have the same endings. Now that you've taken all your notes, we have a little exercise for you. All right, I want you to form the subjunctive by looking at the present tense of each of these phrases. So you see je peux, which means I can, and you need to now give me the je form that's going to be the subjunctive. So where je peux means I can, the subjunctive form means I might be able to. When it says tu es, you are, you're going to give me you might be, you may be, and so forth. All right, bonne chance. Écrivez toutes ces choses dans vos notes et je vous verrai en classe demain. Merci beaucoup.